All right, guys, today we got another Autel scan tool to look at. It's been a few years since we've had an Autel on the channel, so let's get into this one. It's always nice to see an Autel. It's hard to beat an Autel scan tool, so let's take a look at this one. Today's model is the DS808K, and the K stands for kit. And it comes in two of these blow mold cases. We'll get them open here and we'll take a look and see what each case comes with. Now, this is one of the 808 series scan tools. And I've had a different 808 scan tool on this channel before, and that one was an MK808BT. The BT is for Bluetooth. The MK808, it had some bidirectional control, not much. This particular 808, the DS808, has full bidirectional control. And in fact, as of June 1st this year, they've added some more functionality. We'll talk a little bit more about that later, but let's get into these first here. Let's take a look and see what's in this first case. So like I said, the K stands for kit. And so this particular case includes, it's just nothing but adapters. And these could either be OBD1 adapters for pre-OBD2 vehicles, which is in the United States, OBD1 would be anything 1995 or older. And so back then there was no standardization and everything had a different style plug. And so these plugs could either be used for OBD1 vehicles, or some of these plugs may still fit some overseas vehicles to this day. But in America here, we would use these on OBD1 vehicles. Every one of them has a different, it tells you what it fits, like Kia, VW, Audi, Benz, there's a few of them here. And let's get this one open. We'll get this open here. Spin this around so you can see it better. Well, actually, you can see it right there. This one says Honda, Fiat, PSA, Chrysler, BMW, GM, Daewoo, Nissan. You get the idea, so on and so forth. So that's what makes this model the kit. It comes with this extra box. These two black blow mold cases come in one large cardboard shipping case. So they come sent in one large package. Now we'll get into the other box, which is the scan tool itself. And in this case, you get, obviously, the scan tool. You get your data connection cable that goes from the scan tool to the vehicle, the OBD2 port on the vehicle. This is a corded scan tool. It's not cordless. And then up here, in this compartment up here, it's in a bag. You get your power brick and your charging cord. And then here you get your quick reference guide. You get, there's an owner's manual. Let's take a look. Yeah, so you get your quick reference guide, owner's manual, and then in this little plastic bag here, there's a little black cleaning cloth for the screen on your scan tool. And then, of course, down here, we've got the scan tool itself. Let's check it out. Let me get this pulled out here and we'll get it set up. All right, here we got the scan tool itself. As you can see, I've left the screen protector on there for this video. But up on top, we've got a power button, a full-size USB-A port. There's your data connection for your OBD2 cable. You've got a slot for a memory card, and then you've got a mini USB cable here for charging, and it says OTG, which stands for on the go. So I'm assuming you could plug a mouse or a thumb drive or something else into there, and it would work on the tablet. And then on the back, there's no camera on this one, but you do have a kickstand, and I'm just covering the serial number with my thumb, but otherwise there's nothing else on the back of this particular tool. Okay, so I've now got it powered on, connected to the vehicle. You can see there's two indicator lights up here. There's a green light for power, and then over here there's a green little picture of a car. The car means it's actually connected to the vehicle. And what's nice about the Autel scan tools is it's just an Android tablet. So you can either be in the Diagnostic software, this is all the Autel Diagnostic software, or you can actually go to the home screen and it's just a regular Android tablet. And if you know how to sideload apps and whatnot, you can put pretty much whatever you want on one of these scan tools. So that's nice. But we'll go back into the software here. And I mentioned earlier there's some new functionality for the 808 series of scan tools as of June 1st, 2022. So about roughly a month before this video came out, some of the lower end 808s, like that MK I mentioned earlier that I had on the channel a few years ago, some of the lower, less functional 808 scan tools really got a bump up in functionality. Whereas this particular 808 already was near the top of the functionality chain of the 808s. And so this one did get a bump up in functionality, but because it was already so near the top, it made the rest of the 808s similar to this one. This particular 808 has always been advertised as having the same functionality as the 906. So this has been a very capable scan tool from day one. But what this one did get on June 1st was it got the ability to be compatible with Auth, which is for FCA vehicles, which stands for Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. And I'm not terribly familiar with Auth because I don't typically work on stuff that new, or especially, Chrysler's that new. But evidently you need this system to be able to do certain functions with the scan tool on Fiat Chrysler Automobiles. If you don't have a scan tool that's compatible with Auth, then your scan tool won't work on those vehicles. And this scan tool also received on June 1st the new digital inspection function to be used with the Autel MV105 or MV108 digital inspection camera. So they got those two new features on June 1st. And on top of its already excellent feature list, this is a very, very capable scan tool. And in fact, I've mentioned in a few other videos, for me, in my world, how I compare the actual level of functionality. If this scan tool can go in and reset my passenger presence system on my truck, or if it has the ability to reset the fuel alcohol composition on my truck, then I know it's near the high end of the functionality food chain, if you will. And this scan tool will do both of those on my truck. So this thing is extremely capable. If it can do those things on my truck, then it can do most things on most other vehicles. Very, very capable scan tool. So let's just, for example, we'll go into Diagnostics, and we can either go into generic OBD2, or we can pick a vehicle, by make and model and go in that way. We can click history, and it'll show the vehicles that I've hooked this up to in the past. We can select vehicles by region, USA, European, Asian, China, whatnot. Or we could just click the auto VIN button, auto VIN, and let it detect on its own. There we go. Automatic transfer case, yes. 4-button selectable. Dual zone manual. Up-level radio. Under 8600. Rear drum brake. That's my vehicle. Yes. Now, I apologize if you hear the AC compressor cycling on and off in this truck. It's a tad low on refrigerant, and it's very warm today, so it shouldn't be cycling, but it is. I apologize for that. So right away we can go into either Diagnostics or Hot Functions, and Hot Functions is exactly what you see here. It's the quick features you may need when you're doing service on a vehicle, when just doing service on a vehicle, like reset the oil life, or brake bleed, or you can see the options on there. Or we can go back to Diagnosis, and we can either do auto scan, where it does the automatic full system scan of every module in the vehicle, or we can go to control unit, and then we can pick each individual module individually. So every module, or should I say any module that you have in the vehicle that you're plugged into, all those modules will show up here. And then from, like, let's take powertrain. We can take powertrain, and then we can select special functions, active tests. And in the Autel world of scan tools, active tests is another word for bidirectional controls. So actually both of them are special functions and active tests. But let's just look at what this truck can do. So you go into active tests, and then we'll select engine active tests, and here we go. We can turn on AC relay. We can turn on and off the malfunction indicator lamp. We can turn the fuel pump on and off. Fan relays, O2 heater controls, evap purge and seal. And that's just within the engine module. Then if we go to transmission, we've got all these different transmission bidirectional controls. And you can do that with any module on the entire vehicle. So, for example, let's try the automatic transfer case. Here's the different engaged front axle. They got indicator lights, transfer case control motor. You can pretty much run anything on the vehicle with this full bidirectional control. And we'll go back, then we'll go to special functions. So on this one here, you got, like I mentioned earlier, you got the fuel composition reset. Medium to lower end scan tools do not have that function for this vehicle. If it has that function, then the overall functionality of the scan tool in general is pretty good, because if it has that for this truck, that's near the top of is at the top of the food chain for that. But you got fuel trim enable, fuel trim reset, service bay test, cylinder power balance, fuel injector balance. Let's just look at the cylinder power balance once here for fun. Here's where you would be able to turn the ignition or turn the spark off individually for each cylinder. So if I, like right here, if I click number 1, now my truck has a miss. I don't know if you can hear it. Hit the escape. Cylinder number 1 comes back. So that helps you find if you do have a miss, you can go through and individually turn the spark off at each individual cylinder. And when you get to the one where it doesn't make a change, well, then that's the one that's always missing, and now you've found which cylinder has the problem. But we're still in the powertrain. Let's go to trouble codes. We can read codes. It says I got 4 fault codes in the transfer case control module, which is a surprise to me. Lost communication. Yeah, this truck had a dead battery a while back, and I still have not reset the... there's no check engine light on, but it caused some temporary history codes. Whatever. Oop. So we can escape out of there. We can erase codes right there, but we'll go back. Okay, now we're back to where we started at the powertrain. We can go to anti-lock. We could go, let's just for fun go there. Active tests under anti-lock would be to, you can individually control your isolation valves and dump valves within your ABS module. If you had some problem that you were trying to determine. Special functions, you could do the automated brake bleed, which would help you bleed the stuck air bubbles out of your ABS module if somehow you got air in the system. And then also in the ABS module is where you would control the tire size calibration. If you had a different size tire you wanted to put in here, this is where you would do that. You'd have to know your tone ring tooth count. We're going to escape out of there. Also under the ABS module, if you went to live data, this is where you can see individual wheel speed sensor live data. So if you had an ABS light on, or if your ABS brakes were temporarily disabled, a lot of times it's because you got a bad wheel speed sensor. Here you can go in and see, like here you got the left wheel speed, front wheel speed, and then the rear wheel speed is the same for both rear wheels. And you can monitor, I don't know, obviously the lowest it goes is 3.11 mile per hour, but you can monitor which one, and you can graph it too if you'd like. You can go in and do a graph setting and watch the wheel speed and see which one is not functioning correctly, and now you know which wheel has the problem. But we can go into any one of these number of modules, and not every module has a bunch of bidirectional control. But, let's go into radio, for example. This one doesn't really have any bidirectional control. Let's go into passenger presence system. Here's where I said this thing will reset my passenger presence sensor. And if you went to special functions, right here you can re-zero passenger presence system. This is typically only found on the high-end scan tools, and this little 808 has the ability to do that. So this scan tool, it's up there. I've featured many different makes and models of scan tools on this channel, and honestly, it's really hard to beat an Autel. Even if you watch a lot of these YouTube mechanics and whatnot, if they're not using a $5,000 or $10,000 Snap-on scanner, they're using an Autel quite often. So it is one of the top scanner brands out there. I do have a little bit of information on this scan tool that I want to mention before we get too far. I will put this up on the screen for you to see it here. So some of the specs on the Autel DS808K. It has a 1-year manufacturer's warranty. It has 12 months, which is 1 year of free software and firmware updates. Updates after the free period is over are $280 per year, and that's at the time of the filming of this video. That could change. Device retains full functionality at its current software level if you decide not to buy future updates. So this scan tool, after your 1 year is up, will continue to function just the way it has always functioned at its current software level. You just won't have new software, new makes and models. It has a Cortex A9 processor, 1.6 gigahertz. Has 64 gigabytes of storage and 1 gigabyte of RAM. It has a 5,000 milliamp hour battery. It has a 7-inch LCD captive touchscreen. And like I said, new for the DS808 as of June 1st, 2022 is the Auth for FCA vehicles. And it has the digital inspection function to be used with Autel MV105 and MV108 digital inspection cameras. So that's a little bit of info for you. But a couple more things I wanted to show you here. So we'll show you the auto scan just for fun. And this will just take its time and go along and do it. I may speed this up a little bit so you can you don't have to watch the whole thing. Okay, it's done scanning here, and you can see that there's a bunch of faults on this truck, which normally there's hardly any faults ever on this truck other than a couple of speaker issues on the radio. It's all because it had a dead battery a while back. But it goes through, and you can see all the different modules that it scanned on the vehicle. So that's pretty cool. Let's do a quick erase here. Alright, so it's done erasing there. And then it rechecked it and it passed, and everything passed with no fault. Okay. One thing I wanted to show you also, and I kind of touched on it earlier. Okay, so we're back to where we're going to start connecting up to a new vehicle or an existing vehicle. If you've already hooked up to a vehicle once before, the Autel stores that information. So you don't have to hook onto it. Like, say you connected to this vehicle 2 or 3 or 4 different times throughout your repair, and every time you got to go in from scratch and answer all those custom questions, the Autel stores that in its memory. So you can go to history, you can select the last one you were just at, and boom, it brings you right back into that vehicle, and you don't have to, you're just right back into it again right where you left off. I like that a lot, because I'm sure anybody who's used a scan tool in the past where it doesn't memorize the vehicle you're in, it's pretty frustrating every time you got to go through that whole process every single time. It gets old. So here we'll show you what the rest of this stuff is for. Obviously you got your Diagnostics, which is your main program. Then you've got Data Manager here, where you can if you had pictures on a hard drive or PDF files, or you know, if you save something from the internet, this is where all that would be found. Service, obviously, you can get to these menus from within by going through the diagnostics first. It's just another shortcut to it. Shop manager, here's where you could look up vehicle history. If you had your own workshop and you wanted to put your company name and information there, you can store all your customer information there. I already showed you data manager. Settings is going to be for settings within the scanner software. The Android tablet software settings are going to be in a different spot, and I'll show you those. So here's where you would, you know, like your unit of measurement and your language and your, you know, whatever setting you could need for the software. Then, of course, there's update. That's where you do your one-touch update for all your software and firmware updates for the scan tool itself. Function viewer. Function viewer, I don't use this too much. I think it keeps a history of what you've done with the scan tool. Support, it's kind of like going straight to Autel's, if we had internet connection, this kind of goes to Autel's website directly for support. The OEM authorization, that would be where you would connect your Auth account for the FCA vehicles, like I mentioned. You got your Academy here. You can go in, and if you had, of course, if you had internet connection, which I'm not near right now, you could go in here, and there'd be some literature on similar vehicles that have had similar problems and how it was repaired. Remote desk, here's where somebody from Autel could remote right into your scan tool and help you with any problems that you may have. And then digital inspection. Here's where, like I mentioned earlier, this is the new digital inspection function to be used with the MV105 or the MV108 digital inspection camera. That's the app you would use to get into there. And then this thing right here, that this thing kind of floats up and down. You can move it wherever you want. If you click that, that's just kind of a shortcut to these quick settings. And I believe if I click that settings, yeah, okay, it goes back to the scan tool settings. If we go to the Android home screen and we click system settings, here's your settings for the tablet itself, for the Android tablet itself. Yeah, so that's where you would do like screen brightness and battery information and whatnot. And then just to look at some of the other pre-installed, you've got an Adobe Reader, you've got an email app, you've got a gallery. Of course, this doesn't have a camera, but you could load pictures onto it or save pictures from the internet. Downloads, you've got an internet browser, so if you're looking up a wiring diagram or whatever, you can use an internet browser. And you got a file explorer, and this is the diagnostic software itself. Very nice scan tool. It's the smaller 808 family with the 906. It's the smaller 808 family with the 906 functionality. It's pretty powerful scan tool for its size and price. And like I said before, it's really hard to beat an Autel scan tool. They're at the top of the line as far as I'm concerned. So if you're in the market for a very high quality scan tool, be sure to check this one out. Anyway, that's all I've got for today, folks. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thanks for watching.